The hum of the engines at 35,000 feet was a lullaby, a gentle thrum that had coaxed the cabin into a deep state of peace. Passengers were lost in worlds of their own, sunk into novels, hidden behind headphones, or draped in soft airline blankets. But that peace was not just broken, it was shattered. In an instant, Evelyn Moretti, the graceful and elegant wife of a billionaire, slumped forward in her first-class seat. The delicate necklace at her throat, a string of diamonds, caught the dim cabin light one last time before her head tilted at an angle that was frighteningly, unnervingly lifeless. A collective gasp ripped through the air. A businessman shouted for help, his voice cracking with alarm, and the calm atmosphere curdled into one of thick, suffocating panic. Time seemed to warp, freezing in that single, horrifying moment where every frantic heartbeat sounded like a drum against the silence of the sky. Evelyn Moretti wasn't just any passenger. She was the wife of Adrian Moretti, one of the world's most influential and powerful billionaires, who was seated just one row behind her. A man known for his iron composure in boardrooms now clutched his head in pure horror. "Is there a doctor? Somebody, help! Get a doctor!" he bellowed, his voice trembling with a raw terror no one had ever heard from him before. Flight attendants, their faces pale, rushed to her side, but the calm procedures from their training manuals seemed to dissolve into meaningless words under the immense pressure. They called out for medical personnel over the intercom, their voices strained. The call was met with a deafening silence. Passengers exchanged terrified glances, some whispering nervously, others shrinking back in their seats, paralyzed by fear and helplessness. Amidst the spreading chaos, a figure stood up near the back of the plane. He was a boy, no older than 17, dressed in a simple faded blue janitor's uniform that looked utterly out of place. His name was Marcus Hale, and he was not supposed to be on this flight at all. He worked as a part-time janitor at the airport, and a strange twist of fate, a scheduling error and a sympathetic supervisor, had landed him a standby seat on this very plane after he had spent hours cleaning it. He was heading home to a small, forgotten town to visit his ailing mother. He possessed no wealth, held no influence, and had no medical degree to his name. But as he watched the scene unfold, something deep within him, a fundamental refusal to stand by while a life slipped away, forced him to his feet. Marcus pushed his way through the crowded aisle, his own heart pounding against his ribs like a frantic drum. He could feel the stares of the other passengers on him, hear their muttered doubts. What can he do? He's just a kid. They saw his uniform, not the resolve in his eyes. But Marcus carried a knowledge born not of textbooks, but of experience. His mother had lived with a severe heart condition for years. He had spent countless nights watching her struggle, learning from the paramedics and local nurses who came to her aid. He had learned what to do in these exact moments of crisis. He wasn't a doctor, but he had courage, instinct, and a powerful will to try. He knelt beside Evelyn's seat. Her face was pale, her breathing terrifyingly shallow. A flight attendant hovered, uncertain, but Adrian Moretti's desperate, pleading eyes locked onto Marcus, giving him a silent, desperate permission to do anything, to do something. The boy took a deep breath, placed his hands on Evelyn's chest, and began compressions. He moved with a steady, focused rhythm, the same rhythm he had practiced over and over on training dummies at free community first aid classes. Every push was a silent prayer. Every breath he administered was a promise that he would not give up on her. An eerie silence fell over the cabin, broken only by the rhythmic pump of his hands, the faint beeping of an oxygen machine being prepared, and the choked, muffled sobs of Adrian just behind him. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Some passengers whispered that it was hopeless, that the boy was wasting his time. Others closed their eyes, their lips moving in silent prayer. But Marcus did not falter. Sweat poured down his forehead, stinging his eyes. His arms ached with a deep, burning fire, but he pressed on, his youthful determination shining with a brilliance that outshone every diamond Evelyn wore. He was fueled by the memory of his own mother's fragile breaths, by the fear of losing another life to the silence. Then, after what felt like a lifetime suspended between hope and despair, it happened. A sound. A gasp. It was shallow, fragile, but it was unmistakably a breath. Evelyn's chest rose weakly on its own. Her eyelids fluttered, just a tiny movement that signaled the return of life. A wave of collective relief washed through the cabin, followed by a sudden burst of applause. Adrian Moretti, the man who commanded empires and moved markets, collapsed in his seat, weeping openly as he reached forward to clutch his wife's trembling hand. The flight attendants quickly secured an oxygen mask over her face. Marcus sagged back against the aisle wall, utterly exhausted, his body trembling. Tears welled in his own eyes, not of weakness but of an overwhelming, soul-shaking relief. What moved everyone on that plane, however, was not just that a life had been saved. It was the stark, unbelievable contrast of who had saved whom. The billionaire's wife, a woman wrapped in luxury and prestige, was pulled back from the brink of death not by a renowned surgeon or a fellow member of the elite, but by a teenage janitor. A boy in a cheap, worn uniform who, just hours earlier, had been invisible, scrubbing floors in the world she flew over. It was a moment that stripped away all illusions of class and status, revealing a raw and beautiful truth, that true compassion and courage know no price tag. As the plane began its emergency descent, Adrian moved to the seat beside Marcus. For the first time, the billionaire truly saw the boy, not as a janitor, but as a hero. Words failed him. His gratitude was too immense. He simply placed a trembling hand on Marcus' shoulder and gave a teary nod that spoke volumes more than any check ever could. In that quiet descent, Marcus thought of his mother, of the many nights she had told him he was stronger than he knew. For the first time in his life, he truly believed her. When the plane landed, paramedics rushed Evelyn to a hospital where she was stabilized. The story of what happened at 35,000 feet spread like wildfire. Headlines exploded across the globe. Teenage janitor saves billionaire's wife in midair miracle. Reporters hounded Marcus, but he remained unchanged, humble and quiet through the storm of attention. He didn't see himself as a hero. He had just done what he felt was right. Adrian, however, would never see the world the same way again. The man who once believed money could solve any problem had learned that the most precious gift, salvation, often comes from the most unexpected hands. In the weeks that followed, he visited Marcus and his mother, offering not just financial support, but a deep, genuine friendship. Evelyn, recovering but forever grateful, held Marcus's hand during a press conference and called him her guardian angel. The story of Marcus Hale became a symbol of quiet strength, a powerful reminder that heroes are not defined by the uniform they wear or the money they have. Sometimes they wear the simple clothes of those society so often overlooks. On that ordinary flight, in one extraordinary moment, a boy nobody saw became the person everyone needed, and in saving one life, he reignited a belief in something far greater, the boundless power of the human heart.